explore with me, Mr. G. So much to do, so much to see. The skies are wide, the seas are deep. Imagination's ours to keep.
Hello, I'm Mr. G, and today I'm going to talk to you about heating our cabin with a wood burner. The wood burner is a Pacific Energy Alderlea T5 wood burning stove, and it pretty much heats our entire cabin. In fact, I will show you in the video just how much heat it really can put out. Before we build a fire in the wood burner, I wanted to discuss this little guy. This is a Peltier driven fan. Basically, the way that this works, it's built for the top of the wood burner stove in order to pull hot air from the stovepipe and blow it out via this fan into the living room. Now, this is a solid state generator here that drives this motor up here. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that. So it drives the motor. And that Peltier plate or Peltier device or Peltier generator generates the electricity through a temperature differential. So when we set this on the wood burner, the base gets very, very hot and brings it up to one side of the Peltier plate here. And then the heat sink on top of this, or these large fins, try to suck that heat away and cool that. And that creates a temperature differential. The top of the plate will be cooler than the bottom of the plate, and that's what generates electricity through this Peltier generator. Now, I've wired mine in reverse. And the reason that I wired mine in reverse is because I did not think it was a real good idea to have the exposed wires here close to the stovepipe. And if this heat sink's closer to the stovepipe, I would think logically it would get hotter and therefore not work as efficiently. So I made it so that now the fan blades go against the stovepipe and the fan spins in the opposite direction simply by reversing the wires on the back of the motor. And now it takes the air from the stovepipe and it blows that air out into the room, but the heat sink is last. The heat sink is not the closest point, and these wires are not the closest point to the stovepipe, which is very, very hot. So and it will blow the air from the fan now this direction across. Let's see if I can do that right. This direction across the heat sink and keeps it a little bit cooler. And yes, it does work more efficiently. Now, you can also apply electricity to a Peltier device to make one side get cool while you put a heat sink on the, it'll create a temperature differential when you apply electricity to it. One side will get very hot, one side will get very cool. If you don't heat sink it, it's going to self-destruct. It'll just burn the wires off. If you do heat sink it, you want to heat sink the hot side, wicking the heat away from the Peltier device, and the cold side, or the plate on the other side, will get very, very cold. This is how they make like portable coolers for your car or whatever, portable little refrigerators that can cool a couple cans of pop. This is our Alderlea T5 wood burning stove. On here you'll see that we also have this thermometer, which is mounted about 17 inches from the top of the stove. That's the recommended height. We want to keep this in the green if we can and keep it out of the red. That's too hot and that can cause problems with the flue. And you want to keep it out of the yellow because in the yellow that will cause creosote buildup. We want to start by taking some relatively small pieces of wood like this size. And I like to start front to back and put a layer of about 3 smaller logs. Let's see what we got here. So 3 fairly small logs. Now I take some kindling like this, real small stuff, and I start to stack it in a opposite direction, this direction inside of the stove. Okay, once I've got that stacked in there, I will take larger logs, like these, the next size up, and we'll start back to front again. There's 1, 2 nice ones, 3. I try to keep the wood centered in the firebox as best I can. 3. And we can go over a little bit. There we go. I'll keep stacking. That should be enough wood to get us started. A little bit closer shot of that for you. We start with this little lever here. There's a little lever under here. I don't know if you can see that a little bit. And it's marked on top start. high to low. We put it clear over to the left here in the start position. Now I take a self-lighting starter stick and I place it on top the very lowest logs down here and kind of give it a little push back down underneath there. Now I use a blowtorch. It works like this in order to light that. So we're going to light that. There it goes. That's firing up. Again, we're in the start position here with this lever. The door is going to remain open in most of the way. I will actually close it about to, probably about here for now. That will then create enough of a differential where it's pulling the warm air from the room, the cabin, the fire, everything, giving us a lot of airflow up the flue or up the stovepipe. That is the situation that we want right now until we get a fire that is going much larger. You of course want to start with very seasoned and dry wood. You do not want wet wood. Wet wood in a fireplace like this or wet wood in a wood burner like this will cause creosote buildup in the flue up here, and that is not a good situation. Now this Alderlea stove also has openable plates on the top here that can be opened up like this. And these plates will transfer heat as well out into the room as they get hot. You can also cook on top of this. I've cooked big pots of chili up here and all sorts of things. Now I'm going to place our Peltier fan with the blade facing the stovepipe because I've wired it in reverse. Normally, it would go like this. Again, if it was close to the stovepipe, the back here where the wires are would get too hot and melt the wires. So let's put it here like this, and then it will suck air across the heat sink and the wires would be the last thing to get hot. So the next thing that we're going to do when we're happy with that flame is the knob's still in the start position. All that does is that allows more airflow through the back of the firebox to draw more air in across the fire from the back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shut it, and we'll see if we've got a big enough fire to overcome the smoke, meaning a heat differential from the bottom firebox to the outside world that will allow smoke to be drawn out the stovepipe, out the flue, without building up in the box. Now, if the smoke starts to build up in the box too badly again, it'll also start to cause tar on the glass and more creosote buildup. Who do we got coming down these steps? I think that's Willow. Hi, Willow. How are you? How you doing today? Huh? How you doing? We're building a fire. You happy? Yeah. Okay. We're getting a little bit too much smoke buildup, so we're going to open that up again a little bit. And you'll see as soon as I open that, the fire will start to increase in size, and the smoke will start to decrease because now more airflow allows it to push that smoke out of the chimney. What we're trying to achieve is we're trying to achieve a rolling flame that you will see happen up on top of the flame box here, or the firebox here. You see there's a plate on top with some holes in it. You'll see that those draw air from the outside, from the rear of the stove, and it pushes the hot air out through those and therefore creates like a rolling flame at the top of the firebox. Okay, I think we can shut the door now. We'll find out very quickly, depending on the level of smoke that builds up. Now, it's okay for a little smoke to build up in the firebox. That will happen when you shut the door. But it should clear out on its own within, oh, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 seconds, usually a minute or two at the very most. If it doesn't and your flame starts to go down and down and down, that means that you don't have enough fire to push that smoke out the chimney yet. I'm going to go over here, take a walk over to the thermostat, and you can see that the temperature in the cabin is 66 degrees. We'll come back to the thermostat and take a look at that once we've had the fire going for a while. Now, there's another key element to a wood burner fire in a cabin like this if you want to keep the cabin heated evenly. Up here on the ceiling, way up there, we've got a fan. Now that fan is drawing air up for winter, down for summer. So it's drawing air up, and it'll circulate that air throughout that whole area up here. And what it's doing is this apex of the cabin here is very high. I think it's like I think it's 16 or 18 feet up there. And so that fills up with hot air because our stovepipe, hey look, a couple bears hanging out. Because our stovepipe from the wood burner goes way up here and goes out up there. Now, if I don't turn that fan on, any hot air that gets trapped up here, which is a ton of it, just stays there. And it doesn't work so well because hot air rises. So it stays cooler down here, and we're heating basically the ceiling, which is not the optimum situation. So, oh, that's going pretty good now. I'm going to turn that fan on. So I like to put it on variable. And so let's see here. Oh, look at that. So variable basically makes it go through all the low, medium, and high speeds at different intervals, and it just kind of just makes it a better effect, in my opinion. Our fan has begun to spin. That's awesome. And look, we're starting to get that nice rolling flame along the top that I was telling you about. Our thermometer is nearly into the green zone. I'm going to move the damper to the high position from the start position. And you should see fire kind of like shooting out the jets that are the holes in the top plate of the firebox there. Or I think it's called the baffle. So the flame should almost look slow motion too, once you have it dampered properly, with most of the burn at the top of the box. So I think we've successfully started a fire in the wood burner. The fan is going very quickly now, and our temperature is midpoint in the green. We also have a very content kitty laying in her couch across from the fire. The cats love the fire, as do the dogs. It's been about 2 hours since we started the fire. There's one more thing that I wanted to share with you about the Peltier fan here. It has a bimetallic strip on the bottom. Let's see if we can see it here. I'll try to get it where I can show it to you. Can you see that? It's sticking out, sort of. It doesn't want to focus. There we go. Well, that bimetallic strip lifts the fan if it gets too hot. So if the fan is too hot on the surface, it's already trying to lift it. It will tilt the fan backwards like this and only allow a little bit of the surface to contact the hot plate of the stove. So it's self-regulating. About 6.5 hours later, 74 degrees. Add wood as needed. You want a nice hot bed of red coals before you start adding wood, and don't add too much wood at a time. If you're going to add one large chunk, make sure that you've got that fire box really hot. You can see now behind me here that rolling flame I was talking about. It's really working well, and it stays up near the top quite a bit, as you can see. So, we built a fire in the wood burner. I'm Mr. G. Thanks for watching Exploring with Mr. G. See you next time. Hello, I'm Mr. G, and today on Exploring with... That was no good. Pacific Energy Alderlea, not alter, never mind. I'll do that again. Hello, and forget it. This is a heat transfer generator, I guess, that is hooked to a motor, which spins this prop. We'll do that over.